be nervous.
Nervous? Never traveled through time. You go naked. Nothing dead will go. Good evening, everybody. This is Sean Farley with Sean's Humble Opinion. And as always, my good friend here to my left here, the ever interesting, the enigmatic. Is that a word?
It is now.
It is a word. Okay, calling Webster on that one. Travis Becker.
Hello, everybody.
Welcome back to another edition of Sean's Humble Opinion, where we'll be offering our humble opinions on anything and everything in entertainment. Before we jump right in, we wanted to give a shout out to the man behind the camera, the conquistador of the control room, the pharaoh in the producer's chairaho, the bad mamma jamma behind the camera, Quentin Lee. Quentin Lee, producer, director, helping us get this show on the air. So couldn't do it without him. The man behind the man, or no, I'm sorry, I'm misquoting the movie itself. The guy behind the guy behind the guy, if anybody's ever seen Swingers. Okay. Anyway, Sean's Humble Opinion, online, www.seanshumbleopinion.com. You can go out there and check that. Like us on Facebook. It's pretty simple. Just go on Facebook and search for Sean's Humble Opinion. It's on there. You can follow me at Twitter, Sean's_opinion. So I'm updating that from time to time. And we also have a YouTube channel that'll have this episode and hopefully future installments on there. So,
of course, you can call and participate tonight if you'd like. Just call us at 915-5202, and we'd be happy to take your call if you've got an opinion on anything that we're going to talk about tonight.
Yep. So just give us a call if you're out there, and then we have a
caller already.
Oh, hold on one second. Let me get this.
Hello, Sean. It's me. It's you. Well, it's us. This is you in an hour. I just want to let you know that the show goes great. You're welcome. Your future self.
Wow.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what that was about, but
got a call from Sean Farley, which is me.
That's you.
I guess it's kind of fitting considering that a little bit later on we're going to be covering the best time travel movies ever made.
Apparently you've managed to incorporate that into your life.
Yes, I have.
You've
somehow.
traveled through. Well,
very interesting. All right. Well, before we get into the time travel movies, we have a few segments that we'd like to go through. It's going to be a weekly thing. The first of which is the top 5 entertainment stories, at least in our opinion. You know, there's so many stories in entertainment nowadays. We try and go through, pick our top 5, pick the most interesting, and
wheat from chaff, if you will.
Yes, and then deliver them to you. So, let's see. The first one, very upsetting to me. I'm a big fan of it. Apparently, this upcoming season of Dexter will be the final season of Dexter. Season 8 is going to be the last season. There was a lot of speculation going around about whether or not we'd come back for a season 9, but apparently CBS CEO Les Moonves, I'm probably mispronouncing that.
That's close enough.
I'm butchering it. Let it slip that unfortunately season 8 is going to be the last season. He's the CEO of CBS, and Showtime is a subsidiary of CBS, so I guess the big honcho is calling it quits and cutting out Dexter. So,
yeah, all good things must come to an end at some point. Better to go out on top, right?
Yeah. So, hopefully June. That's when the last season is going to come on the air. So they're actually premiering it early. So I'm excited about that. I'm a big fan of Dexter. So we'll see how that wraps up. But next story, I'll let you take that one.
Well, a little local connection on this one. Of course, as a lot of people in this area may be aware, the heavy metal band Lamb of God, their singer Randy Blythe was involved in a little legal scrape over the past few months where he was actually charged with manslaughter in the Czech Republic, stemming from an incident at a concert a couple of years ago where a fan was pushed off the stage and hit his head and later died.
The Lamb of God, you said that's a heavy metal group?
Oh, yeah.
I could have sworn it was a gospel group.
Well, they used to be Burn the Priest, so I think they cleaned it up.
Clean it up just a little
Right.
bit.
But earlier this week, he was actually acquitted of those charges, so I guess we'll send our congratulations and well wishes out to Randy, who's now home, I believe. And
I'm sure that was a whole ordeal just having to fly back and forth between here and the Czech.
Glad to have that behind him. I mean, he was detained for quite some time in a Czech prison because there was a bond issue or something.
But then he caught the Midnight Express and was able to come home. Not really, but anyway.
Well, hopefully now, hopefully their cameras are rolling and it'll be on a future episode of Locked Up Abroad.
That would be cool.
Be like the hour-long special.
I'm sure they're planning that right now. That would be kind of cool.
Let's hope.
But let's see. Moving along here, a show on AMC that I'm sure everybody has seen and has talked about at some point in their lives. Not The Walking Dead, but it does have a reference to death in the title. The Killing. If you followed that at all, hopefully you were one of the few that did see it. Actually, a pretty good show.
Certainly not Walking Dead ratings.
Yeah. After season 2, it was announced that it was going to be canceled, but then there was a rejuvenation, I guess, and it was going to come back to Netflix or whatever. But they're making a season 3. It's going to be coming out. So I guess the fans spoke out and were like, "We want our Killing." So
I'm glad to see it, if only for Joel Kinnaman's character, Stephen Holder, who made that show.
Definitely. I mean, I've never considered getting a hamburger with no patty from a fast food place until I watched The Killing.
His concept of vegetarianism was...
What does he order? He orders the meat patty. He orders the hamburger with no meat patty and then eats pork rinds. But I'm a vegetarian.
And I think he still got mayonnaise on the sandwich, which I think defeats the purpose for that also. But
just a brief synopsis if you're looking forward to season 3. I found this on the internet. Apparently season 3 is going to be a year after the Rosie Larson case, which if you watch the show, you know what that is. And Stephen Holder, or Joel Kinnaman, is searching for a runaway girl and uncovers a string of murders that are linked to Sarah Lyndon's murder case in the first season. Like, she was traumatized by a murder case in the past that we never really got too much.
They use it more as a means of characterizing Lyndon, just kind of showing the damage or how involved she gets in cases and the damage that causes to her, rather than focusing on the case itself.
Got a few peeks of what that was and how she fell in love with, I guess, her psychiatrist at the time.
Right.
But so apparently it's going to be linked to that, and Lyndon, or I'm going to mispronounce this too, Muriel Enos.
Yes.
Sounds good. Anyway, the actress, she's no longer a detective in the show, but she's going to have to come back and help Joel Kinnaman's character, Stephen Holder, with the whole thing. So be pretty interesting to see how that goes. So anyway, look forward to that whenever that comes out on television. I couldn't find a release date. So
AMC's teasing reruns of the first 2 seasons for the next couple of months. So I'm sure it's in production, but I doubt we'll see it before next year.
Yeah.
I wouldn't think.
Probably come out at the same time as RoboCop.
Yeah.
That way Joel Kinnaman will just he's on top of the world. Be like, I got The Killing, I got RoboCop, I'm good to go.
It's always good when that works out for guys you like.
But kind of a steering off into something that we don't normally cover too much of, but I figured since I'm a big fan of Michael Biehn and Aliens and everything.
You are.
I was gonna. Well, I think we both.
We both are. Yes,
we both are. The video game Aliens: Colonial Marines came out, and it's on Xbox, PS3, all that stuff. And I'm not a huge gamer, but that was one I was actually really excited about.
It looked like just a cool concept from the start, just being able to drop yourself into that role, as one of the Marines and Aliens is dream come true almost.
I know. It's like, hey, we get to play as the Marines and Aliens. Be like, this is awesome. We're going to be battling xenomorphs on LV-426. Okay, really geeked out there. But anyway, I couldn't bring myself to spend that much money on a video game. I think when it first came out, it was like $50-$60, and I was like, I'll wait until it gets to GameStop and it's been used. And apparently, from what I've been reading about the reviews, I may be able to get it a little bit sooner than I thought, because the reviews for it are just scathing, just not very good at all. From what I've read, there's been a lot of negative reaction to, I guess with a video game, they released a demo reel that is similar to a movie trailer. And the demo reel, the graphics in the demo reel and everything like that were great. I mean, everyone got so excited, like, oh, this looks so great. But then when the actual game came out, it looks nothing like well, obviously it's similar, but the graphics, the AI, the lighting, just everything is completely different than the demo reel. And I actually went online and found a comparison of the demo reel and the actual game. And the actual game just looks, I mean, horrible. The graphics and everything like that. So, I don't know. I'll wait until it's on the $9.99 bin at GameStop or something like that.
It sounds like it won't be long. So.
Yeah, next to Duke Nukem or something like that. So it's disappointing too, because I mean it's such a cool storyline.
It's a neat idea. If you'll permit me to go off script for just a moment,
please.
I can remember back. This is taking me back 15 or more years ago, and this was around the time Doom came out, which was the first
player.
Yeah, probably the most popular first-person shooter
definitely.
After Wolfenstein.
Became a great movie.
It did, yeah. Was that The Rock? I don't remember.
No, it was it was The Rock and Carl Urban.
Oh,
who also played Dredd and Lord of the Rings.
He's getting around lately.
Yeah.
Anyway, they actually that started a craze of these first-person shooters, and they were all, the big thing at that time. And they actually released one around that time called Terminator Rampage, which was similarly a concept that sounded really interesting.
Right.
Like you were a freedom fighter in the future, and you had to go through and defeat the
Skynet
Skynet and the skeleton Terminators and stuff. And I actually finally got to play it, after finding the game somewhere when I was a kid, and it was so incredibly disappointing. It was difficult to imagine. Just really flat. The graphics were bad, not interesting.
It's horrible too. It's like at least you and me, I mean, we put those movies like Aliens and Terminator up on these pedestals.
Right.
Like anything they could do, it's going to be awesome. And then Terminator Salvation came out, and it was like, okay, it's in the future. Where's the plasma rifle in the 40-watt range?
Right.
I mean, I don't want to see Christian Bale with an M16. I want to see him with a frickin' plasma rifle or something.
And I'll go back to what I mentioned last week. Roads paved with skulls. That's what I want to see.
I mean, anyway. Okay.
Sorry, my little digression there.
No, hey.
I had to get it off my chest.
There we go. I did want to mention too, apparently it's so bad, the reviews and the outcry about it, that Randy Pitchford, the president of Gearbox, who is the company that made the game, is actually investigating why the final product didn't look enough like the demo reel. So if you're getting the president of the company involved that did the game, then yeah, obviously something's up. So anyway, our last story is it's not really one story. It's kind of a collage of stories, or a mix of a grab bag of announcements. Who's coming back and who's not? Let's see. I read here Christian Bale. If they do a Justice League movie, obviously the Justice League movie future is hanging on how well Man of Steel does at the box office. So if it does well, probably go forward with a Justice League movie. If it bombs like Green Lantern did, sorry. Obviously Justice League will not be made. So Christian Bale has said either way, he has no intention of returning. So that's kind of a blow right there. I mean, that's like saying Robert Downey Jr. wasn't going to play Tony Stark or Iron Man in the Avengers.
It takes a big hit on the credibility of the movie.
Yeah, definitely.
If your leading man is saying, I'm not interested in this project, that's not a good sign for the series going forward.
Yeah, definitely. We do have a little clip here. It's just a little teaser of the Man of Steel. I know I've talked to some people and they're not very excited about it. Mark Campanelli, I know you're out there and you were like, oh, Man of Steel, whatever. I want to see it, okay? So here's a little clip. Before it runs though, tell me, when you watch this clip, tell me you didn't think that it was like Deadliest Catch being made into a movie. The very first part of it.
Scored by the Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, scored by Lord of the Rings. So here you go. Here's a clip of, or a teaser of Man of Steel. Check it out.
not just anyone. One day, you're gonna have to make a choice. You have to decide what kind of man you want to grow up to be. Whoever that man is, good character or bad, he's gonna change the world.
Okay, we're back, and before Travis gets into telling us how much he loves Superman, I wanted to mention Zack Snyder, the director of Man of Steel, and also directed 300. He's actually they're moving ahead with the sequel to 300. I forget what it's called. It's
301.
Yeah. 301. Yeah, that'd be a good one. 600. It's 300, and but Gerard Butler, obviously he's not coming back because he dies in the first one. But I don't know about the sequel. Apparently, it follows King Xerxes, and it's like a huge naval battle. So I don't know if it's going to all take place out in the ocean. Hopefully, it doesn't suffer from Waterworld. Of course, it's all going to be CGI, so that's not going to matter anyway. But that was a a teaser of Man of Steel, directed by Zack Snyder, who is, and Superman is actually Travis's favorite superhero. He hates Superman.
Never been a fan of the superheroes that wear their underwear on the outside.
It takes some superhuman. Well, I won't say that on the air, but
Batman can pull off a cape, but most guys.
Yeah, that's because it's a dark cape.
It is. It's so he can hide in the shadows. It's not just.
I guess the red cape with the big S on the back could be like, I'm just a sissy, or something like that.
Just seems like he's calling attention to himself.
Yeah, so
it's like a lot of these superheroes.
But it's his home thing. That's his home. That's his symbol back on Krypton. That is one thing I've always had a beef with is what is it? Superman's weakness is kryptonite, which, if I remember correctly, are pieces of his home planet Krypton. So you're telling me that his weakness is pieces of his home planet?
I think it has something to do with, just like he gains his power from the rays of the Earth's yellow sun, I think it may be the reaction to I don't know. Yeah. That's why I don't like Superman.
I get strength from the rays of the sun. Anyway, and I wear underwear on the outside of my clothes. Okay.
It's all about tanning.
So, well, you knew it was coming. I don't think I've ever made it through an episode without mentioning this, at least in some part. Star Wars Episode 7. Obviously, it's getting made. George Lucas let it slip, and I've heard now there was always this back and forth. Are they coming? Are they not? Are they coming? Are they not? According to George Lucas, Mark Hamill, Carrie Fisher, and Harrison Ford are all pretty much signed to come back for the sequel. So
one has to imagine that George Lucas's lack of involvement going forward with Disney purchasing the properties may had something to do with it.
Wait,
since he won't be writing
I could just see the discussion with Harrison Ford now. I'd be like, Harrison, we'd really like you to come back for Star Wars Episode 7. George isn't even going to be involved. I'll do it. So
he's not writing the script? No. Okay.
Hopefully Carrie Fisher still has that golden bikini stuffed away in a closet somewhere.
Have you seen her lately?
I know. She's coming back as the Emperor, actually. I saw a picture of her recently, and she just looks old.
The spawn of the Emperor and Jabba the Hutt.
Maybe that'll be the whole angle.
Although I heard that she just had a medical issue and she had to cancel a couple of convention appearances. So
I think it's called alcoholism.
We've all been there. So you get well, Carrie Fisher. We're pulling for you.
Oh, is she really? Oh, I'm sorry.
No,
she really is sick. Oh, okay. I just thought she was a huge lush and always looked like she was somewhat sick.
It's either progressed to the point where it's more of a
I guess
problem.
Maybe I should.
Don't know.
Yeah, maybe I should make fun of her because I'll probably be in that same boat someday.
I'm really just mentioning things I happen to have read on the internet with no verification whatsoever. So,
but let's see.
It's possible she's just fine. So,
yeah. Let's see here. Another big one, Amazing Spider-Man 2, that's going to be coming back. Jamie Foxx was announced as Electro, I don't really remember him from the comics too much, but anyway, he's
Seems
coming
pretty
back.
self-explanatory. Though.
Yeah. Chris Cooper is Norman Osborn. I know that was a role originally played by William Dafoe in the Sam Raimi series.
I hope he raps like he does in the Muppets.
That would be cool. And Paul Giamatti as Rhino. Now, I wasn't familiar with Rhino. I looked him up and on Wikipedia, and of course there is a section that says powers and abilities. So I click that, and the first line, no offense to Paul Giamatti, I think you're awesome. Sideways, American Splendor. I mean, just so many movies that you've been great in. But under the powers and abilities on Wikipedia, it says superhuman strength and superhuman speed. And maybe it's just me. When I think of those two things, the first actor that come to mind is not Paul Giamatti.
Not your poster boy for physical fitness.
No, I mean, I'm far from a slender reed myself, but
Did you read on and one of his superpowers is excellent character actor?
maybe, I don't know.
Good
Maybe
in small doses.
yeah, something like that. I don't know. But is not afraid to paint himself blue like he did in Big Fat Liar.
Right?
But I don't know. Maybe obviously some sort of mutation or something like that, because I mean Tobey Maguire didn't exactly strike me as a superhuman or superhero in the original Spider-Man with
Right.
Sam Raimi, and Andrew Garfield was
Well,
a skinny.
Peter
nerd
Parker
there.
is never supposed to be.
Yeah, super.
You know,
super.
that's kind of his gig. Is he
He's a
starts out as this
relatable-
little regular teenager,
Right.
almost.
Relatable kind of guy. So.
Right. Yeah, I think that was Stan Lee's intent with that character was to make
Right.
him the everyman or like the picked on kid, and then he becomes a superhero. So.
Right. I know also they're going to be introducing Mary Jane in this movie.
Sure, everyone's excited about that.
Yeah, I liked Gwen Stacy in the original one. Emma Stone was she was pretty hot in the or she was a very good actress in the first movie. So
Well, I haven't. Did she die in the first one?
no, she does
Okay.
not die. She's
Eventually, in the comic book, she does.
oh really?
Yeah.
Oh, I did not know that. I know in the first one, Dennis Leary played her father, and he ends up dying, and he makes Peter Parker like promise him like stay away from my daughter so she never gets, you know, in harm's way. And I'm like, well, that's kind of a hypocritical thing to say, considering you were like the chief of police. I'm sure there were bad men that wanted to hurt you. I mean, at least Spider-Man wears a mask.
Yeah.
But anyway, I did not know that she died, but I don't remember her from the comics too much anyway.
I think
so.
I just saw that on Comic Book Man on AMC, actually.
Shout out to Kevin Smith.
Yeah,
Fellow fat guys talking about movies.
that's right. I couldn't get through a whole episode without mentioning him.
Let's see, Amazing Spider-Man, and this one right up your alley too. Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, the sequel to Planet of the Apes, the reboot. Was it James Franco and what's his name that always plays it? He's like the go-to CGI guy.
Oh, Andy Serkis.
Andy Serkis,
Yeah.
that's it. Portrayed Caesar.
Almost as much as I love cartoons, I love Planet of the Apes movies.
Nice. The originals, right?
All of them except for Tim
All-
Burton's.
Ooh,
Yeah.
scathing. But we'll get into that more later.
Yeah, I'm excited about the Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. I know it's still a little ways down the road, but I thought Rise of the Planet of the Apes was, as far as reboots go, which is all the rage now, I guess, I thought it was a really good example of one where they...
I did too. I mean, well, I guess I can't speak really intelligently on it because I've never seen the original with Charlton Heston. I mean, I know, you know, how historic it was and all that stuff, but just seeing Rise of the Planet of the Apes, I thought it was pretty good.
I thought it played proper homage to the originals while definitely forging its own identity and its own timeline. And
Right.
yeah, just to say it made it believable is not quite right, but it was a more plausible scenario than some of them I've seen.
Like the ape sitting in Abraham Lincoln's chair
Yeah.
in the Tim Burton version.
Right.
I did think that one was pretty bad.
And it had
I've never seen the original, but that one was just the
Yeah.
only saving grace in that one. Like I said, was Tim Roth,
Roth.
who is awesome in pretty much everything he does. so.
Absolutely. Yeah, he's tough to beat.
But that's going to be coming out. Brief little synopsis on that. Apparently, it takes place like 15 years after the first one, and the apes have pretty much taken over the world. And I guess it's going to focus on two storylines: the scientists in San Francisco are trying to revolt against the apes, and then Andy Serkis's Caesar trying to keep power as he leads the apes to revolution or whatever.
And they introduced some of that in Rise.
Right.
There was obviously going to be some conflict between some of the more highly advanced apes, but
We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, it's just an interesting dynamic.
Hopefully there's a scene where they just start throwing poo at each other.
We can dream.
That is instead of Thunderdome, they just have poo fighting matches. Anyway, okay. That transitions into our second segment.
Speaking of James Franco.
Yeah, speaking of James Franco and horrible acting. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't say that. Before we get into the whole segment, hopefully somebody out there saw, James Franco at Daytona 500. I know Quentin did, because he even mentioned it. He was like, wasn't he supposed to say gentleman and Danica? Yeah, he was. James Franco's a big idiot when he was the Grand Marshal of Daytona 500. If you didn't see it, he goes, drivers and Danica, start your engines. Danica Patrick, obviously the only female driver at the Daytona 500, but it's like, okay, so he just basically said she wasn't a driver. And she ended up finishing like 8th or something, if I remember correctly. So, yeah, so James Franco, stop, get off the Pineapple Express and pay attention to what you're saying.
Perhaps he was just nervous.
Yeah, maybe he was, but I don't know. So that transitions us into our second segment, At the Movies.
At the movies. This is what's coming out this week.
What's out now?
It just opened today at the movie theater, and if you like our reviews, then you've got something to do tomorrow.
Yeah. So normally we will actually include a trailer of a movie that if we had to go see one, this is the one we would go see.
Yes.
Unfortunately, there are no trailers because I would not go see either of these movies. I mean, there's more than these two movies coming out, but these are the two big ones, I guess you could say. And
not much of an opening this weekend.
Yeah.
It's sort of maybe it's just a bad weekend.
I guess
we're sort of in between Oscar season and summer blockbusters now.
Yeah, so, I mean, obviously the big talk this weekend, Oz the Great and Powerful, starring James Franco, Mila Kunis, Michelle Williams, and Rachel Weisz. And of course, I mean, it's directed by Sam Raimi, so Bruce Campbell's in it.
Yep.
He plays one of the, oh. I looked it up, he's the Winky Guard, or something like that, so I don't know. But Sam Raimi directed it, so obviously Bruce Campbell's going to be in it.
You don't want to leave those Winkies unguarded.
Yeah. And the previews for it, I don't know. I mean, I'm not a diehard fan of the original, but I think we mentioned it last week. This is just the start of how they're going to start bringing all these old fairy tales, like, what was it, Snow White and the Huntsman, and then they had Jack the Giant Slayer, and now they're relaunching Wizard of Oz, and then soon it'll be Three Bears, and then the Three Little Pigs will actually be CGI, and there will be a big bad wolf coming to eat them or something.
And it's disappointing to say, but I mean, all movie making now is essentially based on making money. So I assume it's a two-pronged strategy on their part. You want to bring in the nostalgia from the people who saw these movies when they were younger, but you want to make them friendly enough for kids to sort of delight them, and so you get two audiences in one.
Right.
Hopefully. If you're lucky. Although
if you're lucky.
From all the reviews I've read of Oz so far, and I have not seen it, but everything I'm reading says that they didn't really do either all that well.
I don't know. I haven't checked the box office at all. I do know that the production budget was $200 million. $200 million to make the movie.
That's ambitious.
And so I think the Robin Hood reboot with Russell Crowe cost $200 million as well. And I watched that movie and I was like, what the hell costs $200 million besides Russell Crowe's $50 million salary or however?
Really good catering.
Yeah, maybe it was the donuts he ate every morning, all those Twinkies or something. I'm not sure.
He was looking husky in that film.
Yes, he is, but I cannot talk badly about him because I'm fat myself. But anyway, Oz the Great and Powerful. I'll rent it when it comes out, or I'll Netflix it or something. You'll
have to tell me about it.
Yeah. So the other one coming out. Of note, I guess you could say. Colin Farrell used to be one of my favorite actors. Actually, he still is. I mean, I still like him. Colin Farrell, Terrence Howard in the revenge flick Dead Man Down. Looks like, I guess Terrence Howard is some sort of gangster that kills Colin Farrell's family, and then Colin Farrell's seeking revenge throughout the movie.
Infiltrates his operation somehow, I think,
right.
And is trying to bring him down from the inside.
Right, so I did have another bone to pick with the title. I know last week we talked about The Last Exorcism Part 2. Well, technically it wouldn't have been The Last Exorcism. Dead Man Down. Well, of course he is. You don't expect the dead man to be up?
You wouldn't think.
It would be illogical. Oh my God, I just quoted Spock. Anyway. So yeah, Dead Man Down. Also starring, I need to research names. You can't figure out how to pronounce them when they're on the internet. Numa Rapace? Anyway, she was the star of the, I think it was Dutch versions of Girl with a Dragon Tattoo and that whole series over there. So
Yeah, something Scandinavian, because I know the writer was Swedish.
Not sure.
Don't know.
We'll have to do more research on that. So Colin Farrell, Irish, and Numa Rapace, also foreign. Good to see they're making it here in America.
See, at least they're aiming for an international audience, whereas Oz is probably just going to go straight.
They're just going for the Flying Monkeys Carnival crew or something.
They're just going straight in an American toilet, probably.
Let's see. Well, this brings us to our the bulky segment of the evening.
Well,
obviously, I got the call from the my future self earlier, but
Well, you know what happens this weekend, Sean?
what does happen?
We all get to do a little time traveling
Oh, do we?
on early Sunday morning.
Early Sunday?
Yes, we're all going to hop in our DeLoreans, fire up our flux capacitors, and travel 1 hour into the future.
Oh my God! And we will instantly skip over that minute so that I'm sorry. Anyway, like Einstein in the movie. So do we lose an hour or gain an hour this time? with
We
daylight
lose
saving?
an hour.
We lose an hour's
Yes.
sleep.
When I wake up on Monday morning, it will actually be 4 a.m. instead of 5 a.m.,
I don't understand
which is
that
going to be
at all.
really, really disappointing. But
Who came up with that?
Benjamin Franklin.
Yeah, I know. But anyway, why? Either way.
you
okay.
could move to Arizona. They don't recognize daylight savings time there.
Why can't we?
Apparently, they've got plenty of daylight. They don't need to save it.
Well, we'll boycott it here in Virginia.
Okay.
So that's going to take us into our next segment: time travel movies.
Time travel movies.
A bunch of them out there to kind of get us in the mood. It's not really a movie, but it is a show that I used to watch. We both used to watch.
This was one of the first shows I used to stay up late to watch when I had my own TV.
And I'm catching it on G4 now.
G4.
I'm not going to mention the title of it yet.
Not yet.
Just because if you are watching, and before we get into the whole segment, if you want to call in, if you have any movies, they don't have to be time travel movies, just anything. Movies, music, anything. 915-5202. Give us a call. But to get us in the mood to talk about time travel, here's a little clip of one of the taglines of the show. I don't think it actually got going until like the third or fourth season though, because I've just been watching some of the episodes in the first season. But every time he leapt into someone, that was Quantum Leap, by the way. The intro anyway, with Scott Bakula and Dean Stockwell. And,
the first iPhone, Ziggy.
yeah. We think you're here. It always looked like a Rubik's Cube that somebody had like just flattened out and put lights in or something.
Yeah, it looked like cubes of plastic glued together.
Yeah, it was just, I guess that was the big, the plot hole. It's like, oh, you can't travel back to time, but I can come as a holograph and still talk to you. But anyway, it was an awesome show. I remember liking it a lot. But yeah, Scott Bakula, he'd always leap into somebody's new life and just be like, oh boy. And that was the big tagline. Anyway, great show. If you ever check it out, my kids are actually watching it now. It's kind of cool because they're like, oh, Daddy, what's this? And I'm like, wow, this came out in like 1989, and it still kind of holds true. So
It's aged well for the most part. Some of those shows from that period are kind of
some of those shows
didn't
like
come along that well.
The Flash. No, anyway. But anyway, kind of gets us in the mood here. We're going to be going through just a bunch of time travel movies. You'd think we were going to start with Back to the Future, but we're not. We're actually going to start with
We're going to build to that.
Yeah, we're going to build to that. Not very much building, but we're going to get to it. We're going to start off with 12 Monkeys, just because I remember I've only seen it once or twice, and I remember when I saw it, I remember not really wanting to watch it at first. It was just one of those things where it was like, well, okay, I guess I'll watch it. And watched it, and I was like, God, this movie is nuts. It's crazy. I mean, the end, if you haven't seen it, the whole movie, Bruce Willis is having flashes of himself as a kid in the airport, and it's like, but it ends up being his old self that he's seen, and it's crazy.
For sure, one you have to be paying attention as you're watching, or it'll lose you utterly.
And it does a great thing too, because brief synopsis, if I remember it correctly. If I'm misstating it, please jump in. I guess it takes place in the future. Everyone lives underground because disease has wiped out like the population on Earth. They actually send Bruce Willis back in time to try and prevent it from happening. They believe in an organization known as the 12 Monkeys is responsible. And but during the movie, you're not sure he's actually traveling back in time, or if he is like crazy, like he's in the nut house at some point with Madeline Stowe as like his doctor, and it's like, man, maybe he really is just nuts. I'm not sure, but
Yeah, it's definitely some vagueness there.
yeah, but good movie. I mean, if you want to check it out. So now that we've built our house, let's talk about Back to the Future.
Back to the Future.
I mean, not just a great time travel series, but just a good series overall. I mean, it doesn't even, it deals with time travel, but I mean, I'd stack that up against any other trilogy out there and be like, this is really a great trilogy.
Sure. I mean, it's got elements of just being a great movie about kind of being a kid and sort of finding your way, and it's, learning, dealing with your crazy family and things like that.
I mean, I still want to get the Walkman, the red vest, and I still want the power laces from Back to the Future 2.
Hoverboards, power laces, self-drying clothes.
And that cool hat, that awesome hat. Anyway, self-dry on. Your jacket is now dry.
Exactly.
Anyway, but
one of my favorite moments in Back to the Future 2, the Jaws billboard.
Yeah,
where it
Jaws
comes down,
19.
And he cowers in fear, and he just looks up and goes, "Shark still looks fake."
Yeah. Or when they're talking about car prices, it's like, my great-grandfather, Mayor Goldie Wilson, he's talking about his new car, $999, $999, $99, or something. It's like $10 million for $9 million for a car.
Or you can just get the hover conversion on your old beater and
there you
just go with that.
But let's see, what was I going to mention in Back to the Future? There was this rumor, I don't know if you'd ever heard it. Hopefully you'd heard it.
Yeah.
Like the movies were actually filmed backwards. Like they made part 3 first and then part 2 and part 1, which if you've seen the movies you can tell is complete BS because Michael J. Fox and Doc Brown obviously look older as the movies go along.
The biggest proof that rumor is false to me is that I believe the original Back to the Future came out in 85 or 6. Does that sound right?
Sounds good. Came out in the 80s.
In the 80s. And Back to the Futures 2 and 3 didn't come out until 90 or 91.
Right.
So Back to the Future made a gajillion dollars. Why would you wait?
Why would you wait? Yeah, exactly. 6
years to...
And
Were they waiting for inflation?
I guess so. And then another very, I don't know, strong point to disprove that. Originally, Eric Stoltz was going to be Marty McFly.
Right.
I don't know if you've ever been out there on the internet and Google it, but you can find images of. He actually filmed.
He filmed some scenes.
He filmed some scenes, and I guess the director Robert Zemeckis, I think. Zemeckis. You know who you are. Anyway, he felt that he was too dark, or he was portraying the role of Marty McFly, in too dark of a way. Like he wanted a little bit more comedic upbeat, and that's when Michael J. Fox came in and took it over. And thank God too, because we may have loved it just the same. I don't know, but
hard to imagine anybody but Michael J. Fox as Marty McFly.
Yeah, it's like having Sean Connery as Doc Brown. Be like, oh, great Scott, and be like, well, I don't know if Sean Connery wouldn't have been able to pull that off. But anyway, a great series. Which one's your favorite? 1, 2, or 3?
1.
I like the third one.
Really?
I don't know why.
It just seemed to get kind of off the point to me when they went to the Wild West and all this kind of stuff.
I don't know why. I do like how...
It was a new challenge. But.
Yeah. I mean, I do like how all 3 movies, I guess the first 20 or 30 minutes have very similar action scenes. The first one, second and third one, he's chased around the town, either skateboard, hoverboard, or just running from horses.
Yeah, there's some parallelism there.
Yeah, just that whole thing. He gets knocked out, and then he gets woken up by his mother or great grandmother or whoever. But I don't know why. I've always just liked the third one. And then I know it focuses on Doc Brown and his love story, which is weird because Marty is my favorite character.
Maybe the racism against my people bothers me.
I don't know.
Seamus McFly. I just had him chewing on a potato throughout the movie.
You look like a Seamus. And he had that awesome hat.
He did.
That nice hat. It was kind of funny too because the third one, it's like he walks around town and he's like, "What's your name?" It's Eastwood, Clint Eastwood. Anyone is gonna know who the hell that is. I mean, come on now. But anyway.
And the Frisbee Pie Company. The invention of the Frisbee.
But anyway.
But yeah, the first one for me was always, it's just the tidiest, I guess, because even though there is the to be continued that pops up at the end, you could chop that off and the movie would be fine without it.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You know, it's the only one that really wraps itself up.
In
Beginning,
fact,
middle, and end.
In fact, I always say that was a negative point, but you know, the more I think about it, I'm going to applaud the boldness of the movie creators to even put To Be Continued on there, because it could have come out and bombed, and then been like, well, To Be Continued, and then nobody wants to make a sequel. It's like, well, we just kind of left it out there.
And it looked like they weren't going to make a sequel for a while there.
I know.
I mean, normally if they do that, you know, you're going to get a sequel in 18 months or something, and it took 4 or 5 years.
Pull a Peter Jackson and film all 3 at once, like he did with Lord of the Rings.
Well, I think they did do that with parts 2 and 3. I think the majority of the filming was done at the same time.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, because I believe they came out. I think there was actually a trailer, and I'm testing my memory here from when I was 13 years old, but
right.
I think there was a trailer for part 3 at the end, or in the movie theaters that summer that part 2 was out.
Right.
So
I can't remember either. I do remember going to see part 3 in movie theaters, and it was like full, so I had to sit right up front, which sucked. I'm watching the movie the whole time like this, like, oh, this is so cool. Look at that flying locomotive.
There was a movie theater near us at the time that had $2 matinees on Wednesdays at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Jesus.
And I just remember going to see Terminator 2, Back to the Future 2, and Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey over and over and over again.
When I was 7 years old. I snuck into Terminator 2. Yeah!
I probably saw each of those
cool.
movies.
All 3 time travel movies that we're talking about. That's nice. Awesome.
Yep.
That perfect segue into our next movie, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. A movie which I will admit I've never seen. I've seen the sequel, and I know you're letting me borrow the original. I need to check it out. I know it's a classic, so I got a classic.
It's inexcusable. I mean, it's Keanu Reeves' finest moment as an actor.
I mean, Alex Winter should have won an Oscar from what I hear. And George Carlin's in it, right?
George Carlin is in it.
Is he in the first one a little bit more than he is in the second one? Like, the second one, he's hardly even in it, really.
Yeah, no, the first one, he's a much bigger part.
Okay.
Still not a huge part, but he's in it a few times.
What's his name in it again?
Rufus.
Rufus, that's right.
And I can't tell you how excited I was. I was driving home from work today, and all the uppies in the area are changing to Circle Ks. And in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, when they first see the phone booth in the beginning of the movie, it's at a Circle K convenience store.
Nice.
So now
all you got to do is find a phone booth.
There's a curb in front of that Circle K with my name on it. I'm just going to sit there and wait for the phone booth to come and take me back in time.
Like, Travis, we have bills. I'm not going to work. I'm waiting for my phone booth.
Rufus is coming. I'll go back in time and pay my bills when the phone booth comes.
There you go.
Sorry, I got a little...
No, hey. Let's see. I will say the sequel, William Sadler as Death, was hilarious. I mean, you got to admit that, right? I mean, he was good. He was great.
And I know that there is a script circulating for a part 3 that Keanu Reeves and Alex Winter have both expressed interest in.
Right.
And
I'm sure Alex Winter would pretty much do anything.
Well, yeah. By him expressing interest is begging for work, I guess. But apparently there was no role written for Death, but that they liked the actor so much that they were going to try to work him in somehow.
Nice. I like William Sadler.
Yeah.
But let's see. Let's get into, obviously we've already touched on them a little bit, but the Terminator franchise. Well, franchise. 1 and 2. I think after that they got kind of, I mean, Terminator 1, to me, best time travel movie ever. I mean, it's awesome. It's still one of my favorites, even compared to part 2 with the bigger budget and all that stuff. I still think part 1.
I agree with you there. I'm partial to the first one, although the second one's amazing.
Yeah, it's great.
The first one, it's almost, maybe the low budget helps it a little. Just it sort of feels like more of an intimate movie, I guess.
I definitely think so. But I mean, I know there's always that debate, you know, Godfather 2 or 1 or Terminator 2 and 1. And it's like, I still got to go with the first one. I still love that. I mean, Kyle Reese, Michael Bihn's character in it is great. And then...
Just stylistically, I feel like it's aged better a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, anyway, I prefer the first one. That's my favorite time travel movie. Let's see here. Going to another, this is the classic. I've never seen the original. But The Time Machine. I don't know if
based on the book by Jules Verne.
Right. Was it Jules Verne?
He wrote it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I'm sorry. My bad. But and then they did a remake with Guy Pearce, who was and the director of that movie was actually Simon Wells, who was H.G. Wells' great. Let me make sure I get this. Great grandson. So that was kind of a cool tie-in there. I never seen either one of them.
Me either.
But it was a time travel movie, and it was on Wikipedia. But I did want to bring it up because here's my tie-in. If you've ever seen the movie Ransom with Mel Gibson and Gary Sinise, there's this scene where Mel Gibson is taking the money to the drop-off point or whatever, and Gary Sinise gives him the whole plot line of the time machine with the Eloys and the Morlocks and all that stuff. But I got to give a shout out to my friend Justin just because I made this association. And there's a scene with Gary Sinise later on where he's got his gun on Mel Gibson, and he's basically threatening him if he doesn't give him his money, he'll always live in fear because he will have to know if today is Jimmy Shaker Day. And it was Gary Sinise's character in the movie. I don't know why we always thought it was funny, but when we saw it, I think we actually both saw it in theaters at the same time. We were like, really? Is today Jimmy Shaker Day? Anyway, I want a t-shirt. But
if Jimmy Shaker's out there, give us a call at 915-5202.
Yeah, please.
Let us know if it is Jimmy Shaker Day.
Yeah, please.
We'd like to know.
Let's declare it a national holiday. Today
right.
is Jimmy Shaker Day. But let's see. Another, I wanted to jump down here, another Terry Gilliam movie. Terry Gilliam did 12 Monkeys. Another movie he did that involved a time travel, and honestly, one of the most depressing endings in a movie I can remember from being a kid, Time Bandits.
Yeah.
Great movie. I think it's probably one of my favorite Terry Gilliam movies. I don't like too many of his movies. I never got into the whole Brazil thing. I just couldn't get into it.
Well, Time Bandits has little people, and I'm always
a
sucker for those movies.
So, speaking of that, we have a short little clip for you.
I think that's the second week in a row you've used that.
Yeah, it is. Oh man, I'm gonna get killed. But it's just a clip at the end of the movie. Hopefully you've seen the movie, but the end of the movie, it's just depressing. I mean, this poor kid is he just watches his parents blow up, and then it's like he's just left there, and that's the end of the movie. So here's a clip, the ending of Time Bandits. Pretty depressing, right? Mom, Dad, don't touch it. It's evil. Well, let's just touch it. Blow up. Okay, maybe they kind of deserved it. But anyway, and then the poor kid is just left standing there. So, if you haven't seen the movie, the whole Sean Connery thing, he plays like a, some ruler in the old Mesopotamian time or something like that. Anyway.
You figure you're going to get something strange from Terry Gilliam, you know, being the Monty Python guy,
right.
the American one. So. And
have you seen the Imaginarium? Doctors. Heath Ledger's last movie, he died halfway in. So they got Colin Farrell and Johnny Depp to come in and finish his role.
Oh,
I
might be thinking of something else then.
But anyway, I don't know. Terry Gilliam denounced his American citizenship, so I don't know if I can be too much of a fan of him anymore. Anyway.
Well.
But anyway.
The pound is strong to the dollar, so.
To each his own.
Perhaps his movies aren't grossing as much as they used to.
To each his own. Another movie we wanted to get into, big action star that I looked up to growing up. I mean, I actually learned how to do splits in between chairs. I did, I swear. I didn't always used to look like this. I could do splits between chairs. Jean-Claude Van Damme and Time Cop. Pretty significant movie for him. It is the only movie for Jean-Claude Van Damme to gross over $100 million domestically. Except for Kung Fu Panda 2, where he plays the croc, but he has like 2 lines of dialogue, so that doesn't really count.
When you told me, I couldn't believe that when you told me that, because he had a run there in the late 80s and early 90s where it was just movie after movie. The Sudden Death, which is one of my favorite action movies of all time.
Of course, it involves hockey.
Yes.
I mean, I still remember calling movie time as a kid, and thank God my dad let me rent these movies, but it was like, hey, is Death Warrant out? Do you have a copy of it? No, but we have Lionheart. I don't want Lionheart. I want Death Warrant. I've seen Lionheart 57 times. All right. What was it? It was like Bloodsport and then Cyborg. Cyborg was awesome. It's kind of weird. The sets of Cyborg were actually planned to be a Masters of the Universe sequel.
Is that right?
Yes, they were.
Huh.
But then Masters of the Universe came out and it was like, whoa, we're going to do this. That's a whole other thing about men wearing underwear and capes that just didn't really work. But yeah, I even looked it up. The Expendables 2, Jean-Claude Van Damme is the villain, but it's only made $85 million domestically. Now, internationally, it's made like $350, but domestically, it's only made $85.
Perhaps they should have shared that with Oz before they spent $200 million to make that.
Yeah, absolutely. Another great, I'm going to say great, because it's one of those movies that you go into and you're not really know what to expect.
Yeah.
Frequency,
Oh, yeah.
Dennis Quaid and Jim Caviezel. If you haven't seen that, you need to check that one out. It's kind of cool. It involves time travel
Yeah.
and ham radio.
That was one of those movies that caught me totally off guard because you see it and you're thinking, oh, it's one of those Hallmark classics where it's just going to be this sweet story about a guy communicating with his dad and then like a plot to save the world or something evolves.
It's like, what is it? He finds out he's talking to his dad on the ham radio, and he tells his dad to go a different way in the fire the next day, and it saves his life. So his dad is alive, but his mom is dead. Because apparently there's a whole trickle down about his dad was going to do something with this killer, but then the killer ends up going and killing his mom. I can't remember all the ins and outs. It's a time travel movie. It's meant to be confusing.
Right. All of this stemming from the Back to the Future precedent where if you
Yes.
change things in the past, then they will change in the future and screw everything up.
And we don't want to create a paradox.
That's right.
You mean one of those things that can destroy the universe? Anyway, we wanted to mention something here, not just the movies, but the actor,
Right.
Jake Gyllenhaal, because when we were doing our research, he seemed to pop up in a few. Prince of Persia, which if you haven't seen, don't bother. I say that just because it wasn't very good. Source Code.
Was subtitled The Sands of Time, though, so
Yeah.
there's a time element.
Source Code, and we wanted to mention this, Donnie Darko, because that was actually written and directed by Richard Kelly, who's from Midlothian, Virginia. I actually went to Midlothian High School, so if anybody out there knows Richard Kelly, we'd love to have him on the show. I know he's doing some other stuff. I know he did Southland Tales and The Box. Love to hear about what he's working on now.
Yeah.
So, give us a call, 915-5202, or if you know him, pass the word along. Anyway, we did get into our last segment this week.
We made it this
We're
week.
excited. We kind of ran out of time last week, so
This is something we're planning on doing every week.
Right.
This is your chance to be a part of
the show, Sean's Humble
yep.
Opinion.
That's going to be
You can
Sean's
either-
humble opinion and your humble opinion.
Yes, you can either go to Facebook, go to www.seanshumbleopinion.com. It doesn't have to necessarily relate to what we're talking about during the week, although I did make an announcement earlier today, and I did actually get a couple comments. One of them that I thought kind of stood out was from a fellow blogger. Smashing Through Life was is her blog site, and I went on there and I said, in my humble opinion, Terminator is the best time travel movie ever. I mean, you got Kyle Reese and the whole love story. He traveled through time for Sarah, and just that whole thing. But she countered with, Back to the Future, which is a good argument. I mean, I was telling her that I was kind of tied. The only reason I went with Terminator is because in Back to the Future it said to be continued. So I was like, well, obviously some more is going on. So
They both sort of have that little thing at the end that just occurred to me. Obviously Sarah's sort of driving off, into the storm at the end of Terminator. Didn't say to be continued. But,
right.
But, they obviously that was
He
the
says
intent.
there's a storm coming. It's just like, I know. Well, if you know, why'd you ask, lady?
Exactly.
Just get your Jeep and just go on. Your Jeep Renegade. But no, I appreciate that. Smashing Through Life, awesome comment. And if there's anybody else out there, go to the site, go to Facebook, leave comments, questions, topics you want to see discussed.
Give us a call.
Yeah, give us a call.
We're happy for any of
Shoot me
that.
an email. All my contact information is on there. A few things we are going to be getting into in future installments. We're going to have an 80s episode. Best action movies of the 80s, best action stars of the 80s. Steve James, what's up?
We may have to make this a two-parter because this is a topic that's fairly
We
near
were
and
talking
dear to
about
us.
it earlier, and I
Yeah.
think we talked for maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours, and we're just going everywhere.
Oh yeah, there's
But
almost too much to wrap into one show.
yeah,
So.
but you can check out the website, www.Sean's Humble Opinion. If you have any ideas for 80s action movies that you want to make sure we cover. I know there's some lower budget ones like American Ninja.
And actually-
Action Jackson
is a great
Carl
one.
Weathers. So,
And actually, I did have a question for you, Sean, since we got a minute or so here left, just tying into that topic.
okay.
Who are some of the people that you feel are the most underrated 80s action stars?
Michael Biehn,
Obviously.
who I got to meet and is awesome. Another one I want to throw out there, he has passed away, Steve James. If you've ever seen the American Ninja series or I'm Gonna Get You Sucker, he plays, I can't remember his name, but he's the guy with the knives. He's like a Kung Fu Joe, or Maybe that is it.
I think
Kung
that's
Fu
it,
Joe.
yeah.
Anyway, he was awesome. I mean, he was in talks to play Jax in the Mortal Kombat thing, but he ended up actually passing away. So that was kind of sad. Michael Dudikoff, I think he was underrated, just because of the whole American Ninja series, and then Avenging Force.
Oh, yeah.
I was telling you about
Yeah.
that. It's a really low budget. It was supposed to be a sequel to a Chuck Norris movie. I can't remember which one though. Do you remember?
It just went right out of my brain.
Yeah, Anyway, it was supposed to be a sequel, but it's a standalone film. Those are the two that kind of spring to mind. I guess I'm partial to the Michaels.
Yeah.
Do you have any that I may have? I mean, Jean-Claude Van Damme, I don't know if he's underrated because he did kind of get shot
Yeah,
for superstar.
I mean, he definitely had his own...
Dolph Lundgren.
Lundgren.
So underrated.
He never got the big roles I felt like he deserved. And
like Red Scorpion was like his big leading role.
one of my favorites of that era was, it was called something else in Europe, but here it was called I Come in Peace.
Oh, I forgot to bring the DVD. Dark Angel.
Yes.
Yes, I bought it and I couldn't even play it on my DVD player because it wasn't registered in the United States.
That movie,
I bought it legally.
There's so many excellent things. The Flying CD of Death,
Yeah.
Brian Benben from Dream On, the old
Yes.
HBO series.
I
That's
come in peace,
the
and
straight
go
man
in
part.
pieces,
Oh,
sorry, I just cursed. But anyway, thanks for tuning in. Check us out on the web.
Friday nights at 9.
Fridays at 9. 915-5202. Give us a call next week.
See you next week.
Take care.